Okay, guys, here's my speculation or first thoughts on the upcoming Thor movie. Now, if this isn't a spoiler at this point, everyone's been talking about it, and it really doesn't reveal anything about the plot. But at the end of Iron Man 2, we see a Shield agent go out to New Mexico, and they find Thor's hammer sticking in the ground. Since then, the buzz has been building. What's Thor going to be like? It's been Some people are talking it's like Lord of the Rings. We know it's going to involve Thor on Earth apart because obviously they're tying it into the overall Marvel universe. Shield is going to apparently play a fairly big role in this, but it's not Samuel Jackson. I have not seen in any of the credits on IMDb or anywhere. I have not seen him actually attached, so we don't know exactly what role. Although it looks like Agent Coulson is going to be the main representation of Shield. For those of you who don't know, Agent Coulson is the Shield agent we saw in the first Iron Man, and he makes an appearance in Iron Man 2, and is the guy that finds the hammer. So that's all we know. I myself am not a big Thor fan, so I am not that familiar. Most of the information I have about Thor comes from the Ultimate Alliance games, so they give you the good gist, but obviously not, the real main overarching plot elements, though you do get somewhat familiar with them. The first picture we have here is, yes, this is a review. This one actually, I want you guys to see the pictures on screen. Now, this was the first picture released for Thor. It shows Thor. I kind of like the costume. I thought they could have done the kind of more the ultimate version of Thor, where his arms are left bare. But this kind of works. It definitely has a vibe. He's got those little metal circles on his chest. If you're a Thor fan, you might be able to better explain them. They kind of look cool. The overall look is very cool. I like the black. I like my heroes to wear black. I love it how he's wearing black and red. The classic villain colors, and he's the good guy. And he looks pretty good. But everyone's seen this and they're giving their first thoughts whether they like the costume or not. But what has just come out are two new pictures for the Thor movies, and the first one, which we see here, is the first one showing Odin, the arch god of the Norse mythology and of the Marvel Norse mythology, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins. Very much the same motif, visually speaking, that Thor has here. He's wearing the same red cape. I love the rope work art design behind him. It's a very Norse slash Celtic art style, and I love how they're incorporating in that gilded style. It's certainly showing what Asgard is going to be looking like in this film. It's kind of hard to notice in this one, but it might be hard to notice on YouTube. But if you look big, this could just be a reflection on the camera or something. But it almost looks like he's wearing something on his left, or in this case, it would be his right eye. I'm not sure if it's a patch or, like I said, it could be something from the background. It could just, I'm not sure exactly what. But I love how they got Anthony Hopkins to play Odin. That's freaking awesome. And he looks a lot like the actor playing Thor. The actor playing him Thor is Chris Hemsworth. He looks a lot like Anthony Hopkins there. So it's definitely, it looks like it's going in a good direction. Again, with the clothes design, it's got a fantasy, I want to say like a classic 80s fantasy look. Back in the 80s, they did stuff that looked like it was kind of old, but it never existed. That was one of the things that Peter Jackson wanted to get away from in Lord of the Rings, which was different for when he made Lord of the Rings. That fantasy films always went and really did this crazy modern ancient looking armor, but made with modern techniques, so they could do stuff that ancient people never could because it was supposed to be a fantasy setting. And Peter Jackson decided to ground it more in reality for his film, which made it different at the time. But ever since then, every single fantasy film has copied that and made everything much more down to earth, very realistic. This looks like it's going in the opposite direction, back to that old 80s vibe and style of how they did fantasy costuming. And I love that. I eat this stuff up. I love 80s fantasy, so hopefully we're seeing a reminiscence or bring back of that style. Now the next picture you're going to see here is, I think I said there was 2 new pictures. I had paused the recording to check on something on IMDb, and this picture popped up. This is him getting the hammer out. Obviously he's still human. I forget what his human name is, or regular mortal name. But obviously we have here S.H.I.E.L.D. has built a facility around the hammer. It looks very Arthurian, like he's the only one that can pull the hammer out from the stone. He is the one. But it's obviously high tech. It actually this little facility reminds me a lot of the X-Files movie, where they had found the alien, old alien body or cave, and they built that ad hoc like lab where they would get the black oil from. It's obviously raining, not raining, but there's probably like a fire extinguisher, so this was probably part of an action scene. Whether he's been brought in by S.H.I.E.L.D. and Loki's attacking the facility, and so he just kind of grabs the hammer to defend himself. Or he could be the one infiltrating the entire facility. Maybe he's not working exactly with S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's sneaking in to steal the hammer himself, and not with S.H.I.E.L.D. That's a possibility. Not a whole lot more to talk about this. So let's move on to the next picture. And the next picture being this rather impressive. Again, this is a big movie. Look at this thing. Again, with that Norse fantasy technology. Not technology, but architecture. Again, not basing it on real life, but let's go full fantasy with this stuff. This is great. If you notice, front they have the guards. It's nice that there's like an actual army. So maybe we'll get some big battles. I like their design. They got the wing. They have the wings on their helmet. Thor doesn't actually have a helmet at all. But I know some people were a little disappointed that the winged helmet was no longer on Thor. I don't see why, but see, the motif is there, so maybe he actually might be wearing the helmet at some point in the film. Obviously, we have Thor sitting right there at the foot of the throne, kneeling down. My guess is this is probably him returning to Asgard, because we can see Loki and everyone else there, but he's kneeling, so I'm guessing this is him returning for the first time from Asgard after rediscovering his identity. There is Odin on top on the throne. At least that looks like Odin. Looks like it matches up the costume that we saw before. So Odin definitely sitting around in style. I already pretty much talked about him, although we do see if you notice, he's got a staff of some sort there. If you also look at the picture, on both his sides there's ravens sitting on those the wings of his throne there, which is kind of interesting. We see Loki here on the bottom as well. Interesting looking design. We don't get a really good picture here, but we do see the green cape and the wacky out horns, which don't look as ridiculous now because it's obviously part of a larger helmet. So that works. From what I can see here, this fits in with everything else. It doesn't look too ridiculous. As for who these people are, not the soldiers, obviously, the ones with the arrows there, I don't know. Obviously, if you're a bigger fan of Thor comics, you probably can guess. So tell me who these people are, because I'm curious to know who these 3 people. They look like they're probably important since we have Loki there, or maybe they're not. They could just be there for scenery to make themselves look important, to add more depth to the thing. But overall, this looks very good. I'm really excited about this film. Like I said, I don't know too much about Thor, so I'm not guessing on the plot yet. And since I'm running out of time, I'm signing off.